It is Wood Elf Day 2. We're here for an exciting one, which is the full breakdown of the Arcane Journal. We've had some time to go through all of the rules. Hopefully, we've got them fully bed in and we can tell you our thoughts on it. But remember, this is a first impressions. So if I go back and look at the stuff that I said in like the Warriors of Chaos and other journals, some stuff we get spot on, and then some stuff you're just doing some speculating. However, I think we've got some good things to talk about today for the Arcane Journal. Before we get into it, what are your vibes on the Arcane Journal? How do you feel about it overall?
Well, obviously we chatted a little bit before, so it feels rehearsed. But no, for sure. So I can journal well, obviously as a Wood Elf player, and all the viewers that are listening, like everyone's super excited.
Mm.
And yeah, for me, I'm not super thrilled. Let's just say that I've seen so far. But obviously, I looked at things very quickly, and things in a vacuum as well. When we start like spending a bit more time on it, thinking about combos we can do with all the items, the kindred and all sort of thing. Um, I think it could lead to interesting things. Armies of Infamy, not so happy about that. And then the last expectation that maybe I had, but maybe it was Copium, was I was hoping for something that could go even just in the Grand Army to replace the sisters that we still
Mm.
have not fully replaced. I mean, people are using Wild Riders, but so no. Well, maybe you'll correct me and tell me that's the beast
You're
packs
looking
or
for the
whatever.
Warpfire Dragon, basically. Where's the
Yeah, yeah,
Warpfire Dragon in
exactly.
this
Why do
journal?
people get that gigantic chaos spawns,
Sure.
sort of things,
From the
and you
same
get
journal, of course.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think so. For
So
me, I'm pretty hyped about it. I think there's a lot of fun stuff in here. I will acknowledge that the power level of the two detachments isn't there for the current state of the game. The when I'm expecting the FAQ to arrive that I've been banging on about, it's getting closer and closer. So I think I'm if I'm looking at it sort of post summer, I am hoping that there's a lot of stuff in here that we're a lot more excited about. If we're not having to deal with dragons suddenly, actually wild riders are kind of sick, like because they kill everything
mhm.
else. They just don't kill behemoths. When you're throwing out, I don't know, 8,000 strength 5 AP2 attacks. That's good into most things, just not T6 monsters. So I think that would change my opinion on them. But let's have a look at it.
But to be fair
Yeah,
though, Wood Elves are like one of the factions where first of all they love using their dragon,
yeah,
and then they are one of the faction that can outmaneuver a dragon.
that's true.
So
That's
so
true.
I like the dragon meta. That's not my problem.
I'm not. Funny enough, I'm not actually a big wood elf dragon lover, and obviously I put up a video 2 days ago saying that I was feeling like dragons were on the out
Mm.
in the top end of the meta anyway. It's less of a thing sort of mid tables, but top end it's very hard or becoming harder to win with dragons. Um, but I think there's stuff in here that you are happy to run. I think there's a lot of stuff that you would like to put in terms of characters. I think the Kindreds are really exciting. Obviously, did a full video on those yesterday. That's up on the channel. It'll be linked in the playlist. But I think there's a lot of stuff in here that we can sort of take and tweak and sort of theorize as to how it's going to work later on down the line. So I reckon let's get into it. Okay, so first detachment, we've got the Orion's Wild Hunt, and this is one of the classics where immediately the first thing you're looking at is no level 4 wizard, which is hard to love to start off with. um, I would have been interested to see maybe like a level 3 wizard brought in to here, because when you can't take the level 4 but you get a level 3 replacement, it's less of a blow. But let's go through what we've got. So we're still capped on Glade Lords, 0 to 1 per 1,000 points. You can take Shadow Dancers, Spell Singers, and War Stalkers, 1 per 1,000 points. And then Glade Captains uncapped. I think that's interesting because this is the Wild Hunt, which I'm looking at and going, this is going to be almost entirely mounted, and then 2 of those characters can't be mounted. So, I guess the mounted roster is a little bit limited for Wood Elves. They had to do a couple of things, but how do you feel about the characters?
Well, obviously no level 4. You already touched on that. I was thinking, can we cheat it with a Truman Ancient? We cannot. No
Uh,
true spirits in this army. Um, so yeah, I mean, the Glade Lords are great. Orion's great. It's probably what I'm going to try first.
yeah.
But yeah.
To me, this feels like the list building is going to go in a similar sort of way to early Bretonian lists, where you go, here's my two lords and Orion, in
Hmm.
like mirroring, here's my duke, baron. So I wonder if
Yeah. Does Orion count as a Glade Lord, or is it
I
just
don't think he does. We'll have to double
Orion?
check. I'll be honest, I haven't checked that.
So what's okay? Cool.
So I think you can take 3 melee characters, but we'll get to him fairly soon. Then into core, we've got 0 to 1 unit of Wild Riders per 1,000 points. That's great. For 500 points, you're probably only taking 2 units of Wild Riders and then maybe some Glade Riders as well, so that suits me. Glade Riders are in there as well. Special is 0 to 1 unit Assist of the Thorn per 1,000 points. So strong
Oh
they had to
no.
be limited. War Dancers, Warhawk Riders, Wild Riders, and Beast Packs. That's our Warpfire Dragon here. And then into rare, you can have 0 to 1 unit of Way Watchers per Waystalker taken, 0 to 3 Great Eagles per 1,000 points, and then Deepwood Scouts and Wildwood Rangers. And I do like that you can still take the shooting units. Obviously, it's very key to Wood Elf's identity that there's loads of people stood in cloaks in trees firing poison bows at you, which is fine. And you can still do that pretty handily, and I think you might run shy on melee units you want to take, so still putting in up to 500 points of shooting units is quite nice. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on the composition list here? Anything that you think is missing or you're surprised to see?
Well, the good news is the core is just 25%. Because
That's
there's not
true.
33
Yeah,
equips in elsewhere.
because the mounted ones, obviously Warriors of Chaos have to take 33%. Is there any of the mounted ones that have to do that?
Not Nomadic War, Errantry
does.
Crusades.
Yeah.
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 There are a few where they did that, right? It's not mounted, but the creation one
Of
as
course,
well.
yeah.
It's just these rules that you look at, and it's like, oh, this looks great, and then there's this.
It just makes it hard.
And then there's mod recalls, right?
Yeah.
Mod recalls 33%. I don't know, but I know they put
so,
push
yeah.
up till they don't care.
Exactly.
So-
Yeah, they can take all of their good units in core. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's a good point. 500
Mhm.
points only in core, which is nice. Standard Glade Captain can be a BSB. I wouldn't have minded seeing, a halfway between Captain and Lord for this detachment. Some sort of wild Captain. I don't know what that would have been.
Mhm.
As like a
Yeah.
1.5 point hero, but that's fine. There's still
Yeah,
plenty in
I
here.
wouldn't have minded some sort of like alternative to the Wild Rider as well. And obviously,
Like a
as
juiced up
in
Wild
not just
Rider.
a special Wild Rider. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe like a 2 wounds model or something like that, or some,
2 wound elves. I think if any
one can dream.
if
One
any
can
army
dream.
if any army's going to get 2 wound cavalry, I don't think it's going to be Wood Elves first. I think it might be
All
Wood
right.
Elves
Well,
last.
they didn't call me to design the models,
No.
the units.
No, that's
Maybe
true.
there's a reason why.
Perfect. Well, moving on to the special rules, there are some. First of all, you can spend 10 points to get Talismanic Tattoos, which is a 6-up ward save. Is it a 6-up ward against non-magical attacks, or is it just a flat 6-up ward save?
I think it's just flat 6-up.
Yeah, it's one of those rules that I
Might
don't
as well
take
be
because
nothing.
it's not very good.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time we played? I was rolling it on my frenzied characters because I was playing Nomadic War
Yeah.
against you, and I didn't take the war paints. But I was rolling anyway, and I never rolled a single 6. So
You were
it's like,
counting, I do
hey,
remember that. Yeah.
save my points.
Yeah. We've got the Spirit of Kurnos, which I do like this rule actually. So 0 to 1 unit of Glade Riders, Warhawk Riders, or Beast Packs per 1,000 points can have Furious Charge and Impetuous for 10 points per unit. It obviously doesn't apply to the mount. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I don't know if that makes the Warhawk Riders good enough.
I feel like it might do. Obviously,
but
Falconhorn exists.
Yeah, worth testing, right?
Yeah, if they don't exist, I kind of
We
feel
still,
like
we still believe in this balance match. We still believe that.
yeah.
Gonna be
And like if anything's gonna get touched, Falconhorn will. So Warhawk Riders, I could see if they're playable because they are able to actually move their fly move. I feel like Warhawk Riders actually have a place in the meta.
Yeah,
if they've got
and
Furious
characters
Charge.
on Warhawks could be cool. I mean, again, if
Yeah,
can
they don't
move.
get the Furious
They
Charge.
don't have the saves of the stags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can still put the kindreds on them, so you can do various bits and pieces there. So yeah, I like it. I mean, even if you're not running Warhawk Riders, Glade Riders, just getting them to 2 attacks each, strength 4, AP 1 with Cav Spears. they're not going to be your number one punchy unit, but having them as a skirmishing, shooting, supportive unit that also gets to charge. Maybe the Impetuous causes you some issues there, but I think if you're playing this detachment, you're playing full send anyway, so it just gives you, you know, you go, I've taken the maximum amount of Wild Riders I can, here's my 0.5 Wild Riders. They're a lot cheaper per model, they're a lot worse per model, but they still have 2 attacks each, which I think is fine. And then we've got Worthy of Kurnos. So this is interesting. After deployment, but before the first turn begins, nominate a single enemy character or single enemy model whose troop type is monster. They are marked by the Wild Hunters Prize trophy. All models within the detachment may reroll hits of 1s in the shooting or combat phase against the nominated unit. And then you get plus 100 victory points if the nominated model is slain, has fled the battlefield, or is fleeing at the end of the game. This is cool. This is fluffy
nice.
and actually kind of decent, I think.
Yeah, I like this draw. I think it's cool,
Yeah.
quite thematic. But that's the third and final rule.
Third and final rule.
And that's very light.
However, if we're comparing it to Heralds of Darkness, which has 3 rules, 2 of which are a negative, it's so.
Yay.
I think
That's a win.
I think all of these. So I think the Chieftains, the Hunter King, the Talismanic Tissues, I don't care about that at all. I'm not bothered. The other 2, I think, are halfway decent. So there's some positives there, and there's nothing in here that's a limitation outside of the limitations of the roster, the rules that you can take. So I think this is fine. I like that you can get rerolls of 1 to shoot as well. Obviously, this list can take still quite a lot of poison shooting. So if you go, oh, hold on, you know, they've got 1 large target that they're going to struggle to hide this game. I've got 3 units of Deepwood Scouts because I wanted to fill up the points with something. I'm just going to poison shoot it to death. That's a nice efficiency boost, you know. You get slightly more hits, slightly more poisons from rerolling 1s, which is solid. And then the extra VP as well can make a difference, because Wood Elves are a very... you're winning by small margins a lot of the time if you are winning, because you're kind of just avoiding your opponent running around, and that extra 100 victory points can be quite a big difference, I think.
I don't know if you're running around here, but...
Oh, you know what? That's fair. That's fair. This is the full send detachment, but once you've killed 500 points with your cavalry, but your 500 points of cavalry has died, you need that extra 100 points to tip the victory in your favor. Maybe that's what we're looking at here.
Possibly.
Yeah, I still think you probably do run like a decent amount of skirmish shooting. You just go, let's run as much as we can in rare, but it's very early days, so we'll have to see how this one shakes out. Then we've got the second detachment, the Host of Taliesin. Now, this one is infantry based, which is interesting, but there is a lot more option in here. So my initial thoughts were, and then I was like, actually, maybe this is one that down the line has some play. So I'm hopeful about it.
Tell me more, because I'm still at the early stage.
Yeah, so we'll get to them, but the Guardians of Taliesin, I'm looking at them and going, I don't actually hate this. And again, I'm thinking about this in the realm of where we're talking about infantry, but we'll get there later on down the line. And you can take 33% of your army as rare, which is exciting because you can take War Dancers.
Is that exciting? I like War Dancers. They're cool. They look cool.
I do like War Dancers. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So in this one, we've got the classic 50% characters: 0 to 1 Glade Lord or Spellweaver per 1,000 points, standard; 0 to 1 Turiman Ancient per 1,000 points. So that's good as well. Then we've got the Warden of Taliesin, and that is the sort of like between the hero and lord level character. So we can have one of those per 1,000 points, and then you can take a unit of Shadow Dancers per unit of War Dancers taken, which sounds like it's a limitation. It's not. They have no rules on their profile effectively unless they're in a unit of War Dancers, so you wouldn't be doing that anyway. And then we've got Glade Captains, Spell Singers, and Branch Wraiths. So basically this is you can take everything. We're just going to try and give you some additional rules. Into core, 25% again, so no 660 points of core. We like to see that. You do have to take a unit of Eternal Guard. I am not as in love with that, to be honest. But, I mean, I wasn't in love with having to take a unit of Glade Guard in Grand Army, so... I guess it's not too far removed. They're fine. I really
as far as mandatory units are concerned, it's not the worst.
Yeah, as it goes. I just prefer Deepwood Scouts significantly more.
Sure.
So we've got 1+ unit of Eternal Guard, uncapped Dryads, 0 to 1 unit of Glade Guard per 1,000 points, 0 to 1 unit of Deepwood Scouts as core. I think that's interesting that they've limited the amount of archers, but they're like, oh, you can still have one of the better archers. So you could go 3 units of archers in core still if you wanted to, which is not really that limited.
You probably do. You don't want to do 500 points of Eternal Guard, right? Probably. So,
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. So yeah, and Dryads, I'm on the fence about how I feel about Dryads. I think, yeah, I maybe need to try them out more, just in small skirmishing units, see if I can make anything happen with them, especially now that you can attach characters to them. Special.
Right.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Special. Deepwood Scouts, Guardians of Taliesin, that's the upgraded Eternal Guard. Wildwood Rangers and Sisters of the Thorn, and then 0 to 2 units of Treekin per 1,000 points, which is the official way of saying, just take as many as you want. Like, they're so expensive. I think they're 51 points per model, so you're looking minimum 300 points for 2 units. So that's, 300 points out of 1,000 points. You'd struggle to fit any more models in there anyway, so you just kind of run as many Treekin as you fancy. Then rare 33%, Treemen and War Dancers, and then 0 to 3 Great Eagles per 1,000 points. The official, like, we're just not capping the amount you want, but we want it to look like we are. Finally, we've got the BSB, which is a Glade Captain, or the Warden of Taliesin, which is nice. Warden of Taliesin is unfortunately foot only, which is the main downside to it, but it is, better than a noble, or a captain, I should say. Any thoughts here on the composition?
Yeah, so 33 persons, that means you can take 3 Treemen, right? Which is kind of cool, if you like.
Sure,
if you like your trees.
And then you could take 2 Ancients as well.
Yeah, so that's more than Grand Army. You can here's your Tree Spirit Army if you want to. You need
Actually, yeah. Yeah, unironically.
But yeah, no, I guess this is the list for people who want to get their infantry Wood Elves army, right? That's just not playing. It's not a full sand cavalry, but it's still kind of like a combat thing. And I mean, it's but you can do most of these things apart from what I said with Streaming in the Grand Army. So you have new character and this new unit as well, which by the way is not in core. Which is a bit disappointing as well. Well, we'll see the profile of the unit, but
it's not in rare like the Lion Guard, so
it's not in rare.
There is that.
Yeah, there is that. So yeah, no, that's the main things really. At least you get your level 4, you get your Glade Lord. Overall, it's very similar to the Grand Army, to be honest, with just this rare and the mandatory Eternal Guard in core.
Yeah, it does just feel like a slightly different painting of Grand Army is effectively where I'm at with it. So the special rules, what do we get here? Well, first rule, you get Hatred Beastmen Grey Herds. Sure. Fine. Then we've got In Tune with Nature. You can take the lore from the you can take Lore of the Wilds, Lore of Magic, which is cool. So that is your mages, Treemen, Ancients, and Branch Wraiths. Can you take the... Okay, so you can still take Shadow Dancers in this list, but you can't give them the Lore of the Wilds. I don't think I care about that, honestly, but it would be interesting to play around with. Then we've got, while it controls a special feature, a unit within a host of Taliesin army may reroll hit and wounds of 1s during the combat phase. And then finally, Awakened Woods. Dryads and Treekin have ambush at +1 point per model. Treemen and Treemen Ancients can have ambush at +10 points per model. Are there any rules in there that make you go, this is an actual special rule?
Well, ambush, I don't care.
Yes, correct.
Hatred Beastmen. Well, Beastmen player would say, oh, that's not fair, we targeted. Ultimately, it's the rule that doesn't exist.
Yep.
In Tune with Nature is good.
Yep.
It's just one of the best things in this book. We'll get there, but the new lore is good. And Protector of the Ancient Woods, well, it depends where you're playing. In the UK, we don't really use the special features much.
No.
Currently, anyway. In France, they're very, very used. You see them at most tables. So maybe, at the local meta level, it changes how useful it is. So yeah, obviously, like Rural wants to hit and to win. It's not like a super exciting mechanic, but I mean it's good.
Hmm.
So yeah, like if you
As a
play on these
tournament
boards that have these,
organizer yourself, are you going to start running more special features?
I think I can hear the accusations come in already. But potentially, I mean, I'm interested. You know, if you want to talk about take a little step away from the wood elf specifically,
Hmm.
I'm interested in doing more terrain. Like at my events, we're still using the square based pack. Playing at the WTC, we've been using still layouts but asymmetrical, which I thought has been super fun, more varied. And it also has many more features, right? Because on the square-based ones, you just got your building, your hill, your forest. At WTC, we've got the lake, we've got the fields, you've got still, and then the same others as before. And I think it just adds a bit of variety.
Hmm.
You can choose to tailor the rules. Even like a WC is quite light in terms of like cover provided, but you could have more cover if you wanted. Um, so in general, just having more variety of terrain is quite interesting. Do I want to mess with the garrison rules, for example? I don't know, but you know,
Yeah.
it's fun to have more terrain.
Yeah, the main thing that is making me think about this is the Herdstone, which is rumored to be coming for Beastmen.
Mm.
I can't remember if they've actually announced anything about it, but I've seen multiple rumored posts pop out saying that it's going to be something that you control and get maybe buffs or something from it. Not sure entirely how
Hmm.
that works. If that counts as a special feature, get screwed, Beastmen. Not only
Well,
do I
and you
get
already have
hatred,
hatreds.
yeah, but you're getting rerolls of one in combat as well,
Hmm.
which is quite nice. So maybe this is just the anti-beastman detachment, which
That's it.
is interesting to see. So I think the special rules here, I'm not super in love with. Obviously, the access to the lore is nice, but you can get access to the lore just through a magic item as well. I more like it because I think the army composition list is a lot more forgiving, and there's maybe a lot more play to bring various different bits and pieces here than there is with the Wild Hunt. Cool. So let's
Hmm.
go on to the characters. And yes, as we can see here, Orion is not a lord. He's not a character that takes up one of the Wood Elf
All right,
lord slots,
that is
which is
cool.
good. Yeah,
That is good
absolutely.
news.
So basically, I mean, you might struggle for points, but you could go Orion and then double
Stacks.
Glade Lord. Yeah, stags tend to come in around 300 points, so you might have to make some cuts. Maybe you go like
Mm.
a stat. Honestly, in that detachment, maybe you just go like put them in units of Wild Riders on Elven Steeds, and you just tool them up to the
Mm.
nines, because they get 6 attacks base with the Wild Rider Kindred, so you can do some interesting stuff there. But yeah, so
Nice, nice.
yeah, absolutely. Orion, 9-inch move, but no swift stride, which is a little surprising. I guess he is just a dude that runs around, but I kind of was expecting to see him with swift stride. He has weapon skill 8, which is fairly ludicrous. Ballistic skill 6, which is fine. Strength, toughness 5, 5 wounds, 5 attacks. Really high initiative at initiative 8, but no strikes first and no elven reflexes, which is fine. And then we've also got the really solid leadership 10 as well. So he's coming in on a 50 mil base, and then he's got the 2 hounds that are coming on a 25 by 50 mil base. It's a three model unit, and they unfortunately don't have skirmish. I kind of just assumed they would, and I think that's the big thing for me on this unit. If they had skirmish, yes, they're harder to control because he's frenzied, but oh man, that would be spicy if he could just charge in any direction. Before we go through all the rules here, have you looked at Orion? Have you got any thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting, right? Well, as you said, no skirmisher, that is frustrating. Uh, but also, and no Swift Stride, also annoying.
Yeah,
Um, it's got his hounds, right? And it has to make a unit with the hounds. That's interesting, but also that means, you know, it's tied to them. He can't get lone character protection,
yeah,
and he can't get lookouter.
yeah.
So there is a guy here who's just T5 with 5 wounds. Yes, it's got a wall save, but he might just get targeted by cannons and die. So that is a
Might,
risk. There's a risk,
might.
and it's 455 points, right?
Definitely
So
will get shot by cannons. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
exactly, exactly.
A little bit of a
So that
problem.
is my main fear here. But I will run him until I've had enough. because it's just a cool model. I like it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And he does hit pretty hard. So if we go through the
it does
special
hit hard.
rules,
Can you get him in combat, basically? Then,
Orion causes fear and terror. I don't know that I've ever seen anyone have both of those rules printed on their profile at the same time, because terror just means that you cause fear. I wonder if it's just to do with the fact that the Hands of Orion cause fear, so it's more obvious that when you're counting the unit strength for fear-causing units, that it's the full 5 instead of just 2 for the War Beasts. Who can say? Immune Psychology, which, I mean, sure, great. Frenzy as well for the +1 attack. Move through cover is nice. Feels like that should just be a Wood Elf rule as standard. Magic Resist 2 is solid, because he is going to die to fireballs. Open Order, which we've talked about. Stomp attacks D3+2 is pretty cool. Strikes First. Oh, he does have Strikes First. Sorry, I missed that in the massive line of text he had. And then Terror and Unbreakable. If he gets into combat, I think he's pretty solid, especially because he's just going to be tanking a challenge every round. And then, as you can see from the rule below, Spectral Hounds, the Hounds of Orion, can only be wounded by magical attacks because they're ethereal. Although they had to write it differently because you can't have ethereal and non-ethereal models in the same unit. So
that makes sense.
if he gets to combat, he's going to go in, he's going to challenge, and then the Hounds of Orion will be outside of the challenge, not taking wounds because they're ethereal, and then potentially doing a point or two of combat res. They have Frenzy as well, so you're getting 4 attacks from the Hounds of Orion. Maybe you're chipping off 1 or 2 points of combat res there if you're going to skeletons or something like that, which is interesting. And then if we look at the other bits and pieces he's got, basically it's the weapons that matter. Cloak of Isha gives Orion a ward save, a 5-up ward, and then on a 5+, at every start of turn sub-phase, you regain a single wound. So he gets shot by a cannon turn 1, he drops to 2 wounds, he comes back to 3 wounds, gets shot by a cannon turn 2, and he dies. Yeah. But it is still nice to have that. If you
hopefully it passes the ward save. At least it's got that.
Yeah. Having a ward save is necessary.
Believe.
Absolutely. And there are ways to make him tankier as well that we can get to later on. Horn of the Wild Hunt. Once per game in your command phase, you may sound the Horn of the Wild Hunt until the end of turn. Friendly units in command range gain the Frenzy special rule. A unit may become frenzied in this way, even if it has lost Frenzy early in the game. This is good. It is on-demand Frenzy, which is when you want it. So if you've got those Furious Charge Warhawks or Furious Charge Glade Riders, giving them +1 attack on a go turn is really nice. Also, if he's lost Frenzy already, you can just blow it and you get Frenzy back, which could be key, which is really nice to have as well. It doesn't say that it's if you're out of combat, it's just you can sound it. So if you're tied up in combat but you lost, you're like, I'm going to need that extra attack to try and chunk through this difficult enemy. I can blow the horn and get the extra attack back. I think the only real downside here is that it's command range, which is only 12 inches because he's not a large target. Obviously, I don't want him to be a large target, given how, we've discussed that he can't hide, but it is a smaller command range. What are we thinking for this one?
Yeah, I mean, you've said what I was going to say about the command range, right? So it's just 12, but then that's fine. The effect is really good. The fact that you can control, you can decide when you give it to the units that are around you. For example, your Glade Riders that also have Furious Charge, and you know that it's the turn where you want to go in. Like, it's good. It's good. I like it. I've been playing Skaven recently. Started playing them and having this bottle of Skaven Brew on the unit.
Yeah.
When you're ready to go, obviously it's maybe not that beneficial on Storm Vermin because they're like not that great in combat, but the characters in there get this extra punch. You're going in this turn. It's good.
Yeah. And obviously leadership 10 as well, so he's going to be passing that 92% of the time, something along those lines. So really solid there. And then he's got 2 ranged attacks, which I think is interesting. He's got the Hawk's Talon. Obviously he can only shoot one of them a turn, but got the Hawk's Talon, 30-inch range, strength user, so strength 5, AP 1, magical attacks, multiple shots, D3+1. So if you need to clear multiple models. And then there's also the Spear of Kurnos, shorter range, 18 inches, strength 6, AP 2, magical attacks, multiple wounds, D3, which is the same profile as he's got in melee. And it has through and through, which I think is interesting. It's probably not going to come up much, but I guess he's probably one of the better through and through users because he can move 9 inches and then potentially throw a big spear down the flank of a unit of knights it is only AP2. I say only, AP2 is pretty solid. So Knights are going to be saving it on a 5-up. But yeah, no, that's a solid
How many
melee profile.
times?
5
How many
base
times
plus
are you gonna use Mikael? No.
5 base plus 1 for frenzy, so up to 6.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But how many times will you get to do your range attacks in a game, right? Is the
Almost
question.
never.
Probably. Yeah.
Um,
You do it first turn, you'll get a stand shoot potentially.
oh,
I
that's
don't know who's
true,
charging
actually.
that when you got strike first, but um,
Uh,
it's interesting. You don't have.
if your opponent is
I don't
also
know.
playing Wild Hunt and they're frenzied,
Ooh.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess
What's
there's
his ballistic skill? 6. Yeah,
it's
that's
pretty
pretty good.
good. Yeah,
It's pretty good.
yeah. You're probably getting, and I mean, you'd probably go for the Hawk's Talon into most targets if you're being
Mm.
charged. I guess it depends whether you need the AP. But yeah, no,
Mhm.
that's solid. I think he's a pretty decent beater in combat. 6 attacks, strength 6, AP2, multiple wounds D3. He's basically a second Ogre Blade in your list, which is, I mean, you're not going to complain about that if he gets to melee, which is decent. I had expected some sort of Green Knight-esque ethereal or coming back or something like that. I'm a little surprised we haven't seen. I'm not upset that we're not seeing that just for the health of the game, but I
Yeah.
was kind of expecting something along those lines.
Yeah, that's true. I thought he might be ethereal himself, and yeah, the whole theme is the rebirth, right, of Orion as
Sure.
well. So two aspects where it could have mirrored the Green Knight, but probably a good thing for the game.
Especially
Not.
because you could cast your own trees. Imagine if you could just come out like
Yeah.
the Green Knight,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, last turn I tree singinged, and now I'm just gonna, be in that template that I've made, and then charge you from 3 inches away. Yeah, that's probably not good for the game. Okay, that's fine. So, I think Orion is a little bit on notice. It's going to be interesting to see. I think he's going to be very metagame dependent, but if there's a way of keeping him alive, that's pretty cool. I'm interested to see how that's going to go, because he does slap pretty hard. Then we're on to Araloth, Lord of Taliesin, and he is a Glade Lord, so he does replace the actual Lord profile. I think he's interesting. You can use him in any army using any army composition list, as long as you can take Glade Lords, which all of them can. So, again, he's a weapon skill 8 character. I mean, his weapon is less exciting, but it's wild that we're seeing these absolute melee beefcakes. Ballistic skill 7 with no ranged weapon. Strength 4, T3, 3 wounds. Initiative 8, 4 attacks, leadership 10. Strikes first in there as well. Mostly what you'd expect to see from a Glade Lord. Now, he does have some bits and pieces in here which are solid. So first of all, ignores all negative modifiers to his leadership characteristics. Huh. That's pretty good. Can't scream me to death. I mean, hard to provide that in an aura, unfortunately. But leadership 10, if you are for some reason running a big brick of Eternal Guard and you're worried about the undead magic,
You have to. If you're playing his army anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming if you're playing this guy, you're playing the Taliesin army, right?
I don't know, actually. So
Okay.
let's just go straight to the interesting rule. We've got Scarin the Eye Thief. That's his bird. During the command subphase of his turn, you may attempt to detach Scarin to strike from the skies by rolling a d6. 1 to 2, you stay out of range. On a 3+, you descend from the skies to strike at his master's mark. Nominate a single enemy model within 18 inches of Araloth. That model suffers a single strength 4 hit at AP1. If they take an unsaved wound, the weapon skill and initiative characteristics are reduced by d3 for the remainder of the game. That's interesting. Now, it's not magical attacks, unfortunately, but you can just snipe models out of units. It's a command phase attack. It's not a shooting attack. You can just be like, oh, that 2-wound BSB that you've kind of gone light on, defensive items, cough, cough, looking at you, mortuary cult, over, I guess they can heal them up. That's a bad example, but you can snipe out models. But interestingly as well, reducing their weapon skill initiative by d3 is huge. It's for the rest of the game. I think this stacks as well. Now, it is an unsaved wound, so you're probably not putting this into a Dragon Lord, but, a Duke, a Royal Pegasus, that's only T5. And if you go for, like, the Baron, the Exile's Baron, who only has, like, a 3-up armor save, you're wounding on 5s, they fail to save on 4s, it's not, they might not even have a ward save. Dropping that thing down to weapon skill 3 is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, 100%. It's the odds are not with you to do something great. You
Yeah,
don't have a lot of time, right? If this is within 18 inches, you're probably in trouble, right? Or you have a movement phase and shooting phase to deal with it, but otherwise it strikes you and maybe you're dead if it's the Bretonian Duke. But still, it's cool if it goes through.
sure.
It's funny.
Yeah, I just feel like this has a lot of tech. Like it feels like most armies aren't going to take it, and then you're going to come up against someone who's really good who's got it in their list. And you're like, oh, that's weird.
Mm.
And then you get to the end of the game, you're like, I hate this model. This is the thing that cost me the
Mm.
game. I can just see it having that level of play potentially, and
You
maybe it
still
is.
get your lookouts against that.
No,
I
it's
think
not.
you do,
It's
right?
not a
Because you
shooting phase
suffer a
attack,
hit.
right? I'm pretty sure lookouts
Is
are a
that?
shooting phase only
Oh,
because it's
okay.
just command phase. You're just picking a model, and
Okay.
I think it's a single enemy model within 18 inches. So you can just kill unit champions. If a unit champion is causing you issues
Mm.
because it's holding a Ring of Fury or it's holding a
Yeah.
magic resist, gone. You have to still wound it, and you hit on a 3+ wound on whatever. But Strength 4 AP1 is not an awful profile when you're trying to hunt down unit champions. I feel like
Mhm.
this is, and again, I think this is maybe not like the meta for Araloth, and because he's taking away one of your Glade Lord slots, that's maybe a little too punishing. But I don't know. I just
Mhm.
feel like this is an interesting character, and I'm expecting to see more of him than something like, I don't know, Hans von Lohenmack, who people talked about taking and then never did.
I saw it once. Sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, once in a
Just
dream.
taking a picture.
But yeah, so that's interesting. It's a nice model, so maybe I'll pick it up
Mhm.
for that basis only. Cool. So we've done the
Mm.
special characters, and we're on to the non-special, the regular character, the Warden of Taliesin, and this is an interesting stat line because it's basically a Lord Light in that your weapon skill 7, the ballistic skill sucks, but you don't have a bow anyway, so whatever. Your strength 4, toughness 3, your 3 wounds, your 4 attacks, and your leadership 9. You're not very far away from a Lord. All the important stats, weapon skill, toughness, wounds, sorry, not toughness, wounds, attacks, all of that is the same. It's basically just leadership that you're down on, and maybe a point of initiative as well, if I remember correctly. They still have strikes first. They are pretty nuts in terms of special rules. They've got immune psychology. They've got stubborn. They've got parry, which is a really interesting rule. So you can potentially get this to a 2-up save without investing too many points in it. I haven't actually checked. Can you get this to a 2-up save?
Yeah,
Maybe
you'll have to tell me how.
maybe a 3-up save is realistic. You take heavy armor,
Mm.
and
Sure.
then you just combo it with a shield and the parry save. Yeah, I'll have to
Mhm.
check. Maybe there's a way to get it. But you've got a great weapon or additional hand weapon, or the spear that you start with. You may take a shield for 2 points. You can take 75 points of magic items, and you give a unit of Guardians of Taliesin that you join immune to psychology. That's interesting. You can just have like a huge Death Star that is, even though they're elves, moderately tanky in combat. The problem is they just still melt to shooting.
Yeah. Why are you saying they're tanky? They're not tanky. They're
Well,
still just
they get
T3
to a
elves.
sure, but they get to a 4-up armor save, which is
Sure, it's good for an elf. Sure.
yeah. And then you can also layer other stuff on them. Like if you wanted, you could take 2, because these aren't. If you're going for the detachment that takes them, the Taliesin
Uh-huh.
detachment, these are capped separately to wizards. So you could take this, and then you could also take 2 wizards. If this is probably
Mm.
going too much, but you could give a ward and a regen save to that unit if you really wanted to. And again, that's probably too much
Sure.
investment, but you've got multiple options to make them a little bit more tanky. So I'm curious
Mhm.
to see how this goes. Subbing as well is nice. Yeah. Any thoughts on this as a character?
Well, it's not a lot of rules, in my opinion, for a new character.
Sure.
It's just a noble with 2 kind of small things. Yes, immune psych is good. On your Death Star rate, you don't want it to fail a terror check. Harry is meh. I mean, yes, you can get some armor, but then you do no damage with your character.
That's
So
fair. That's
you
fair.
know how's your Death Star winning combat?
Yeah.
What's the plan here, right? So I
Fighting
don't know.
about
Again,
37 ranks
yeah,
with spears.
yeah, but you have AP1, right? Is it a straight spear with the
Yeah. I think
guardians
it's just a spear with AP1 that can
and
fight to
strength
the
3?
sides as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love demonology in this army. That would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, no, that's fair. They're objectively broken because they have strikes first and elven reflexes, which is, I think, the only combination of those two rules.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's
there we
cool.
go.
I like it.
But yeah, 75 points of magic items is going to be enough for most of the time, and it's nice that it's uncapped compared to putting them inside of lists where you want to go for three lords, for example, and you just go 2 lords in one of these or 2 wizards in one of these. Can't take them outside of the detachment, the Talisman detachment, though. That's fine.
Right, of course.
Moving on, we've got the Guardians of Taliesin, and this is the Eternal Guard ++ models, effectively. You can see here down at the bottom, represented with Eternal Guard models painted in the distinctive green and white livery of Taliesin. It's fair enough. So they come with spears, light armor, and you can give them shields for a point. They are coming in at 18 points a model already, which is pricey. I do not love that price point for an elf T3 model.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't even feel like they've got the most elite stat line. Their weapon skill 5, which is fine. Their strength and toughness 3. Their initiative 4. I think they could have been given an extra pip of initiative. I know that when they're charged, they get +1 initiative from the Azrai Spear, but I feel like you could give them another pip, so that would get them up to 7, which I think would be interesting on the first round of combat. They have full command, magic standard of 50 points, and Watchmaster can have magic items up to 50 points, and you can take them in 5+.
Just 50 points on the standard. That's nice because there's an amazing banner we're going to talk about later that would have been so good on this unit.
I
But
detect a
unfortunately,
hint
it's
of
80 points.
sarcasm there. If we're talking about the real world, I actually don't think there's any banners that you'd want to put that are more than 50 points in this unit. But it would be nice just to have them, respected to the same level as like Phoenix Guard or something that can take 100 points or something along those lines there. Martial prowess, the classic, they can make supporting attacks to the flank and rear as well, which is fine. And then parry is the main thing. So in combat, they're going to be sat there with their 4-up armor save. They've got stubborn. They've got veteran as well. They move through cover. They're drilled. They've got all the rules that you want on a melee unit. It's just whether or not the base unit is good enough to get them there. And I'll be honest, this weapon skill 5 and initiative 4, I kind of forgot that they didn't have one more pip in both of those. They have got 2 attacks though, which is neat. Not many infantry have 2 attacks.
It's going to be tough to make it work. And as you said earlier, obviously parry is just in combat, right? So
Sure.
Yeah, you're going to be vulnerable to shooting in an army that is infantry, right? So what's the plan here to just not get shot to death? I mean, again, you said you can get some warden regen. Okay, fine.
Only take it to teams,
but still,
and ask your captain to never pair you into anyone that has taken magic missiles or shooting weapons.
Sounds good. What's left?
Undead? Oh.
Yeah.
And also undead do tend to have shooting as well, so that doesn't help. Yeah, no, it's interesting. But yeah, no, in retrospect, maybe this unit just sort of lives in the same spot as Lion Guard, which is...
And it's not core, again, it's, I mentioned earlier, it's just... Yeah, I can overpay a little bit for something that goes in core, but points are tight in general with Wood Elves, so... Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, it's...
Not fun.
They're just Wood Elves with a 4-up save in combat. I want to love them. I think I can acknowledge that maybe I'm wrong, but I can see in my future at some point trying to make a unit of this work and then regretting how much money I've spent on on too many melee elves with spears. But yeah, okay, that's fine. Finally, in terms of units, we've got the Wood Elf Beast Pack, and these are fun. I do like these, and they do come with skirmish, which is nice. So they're a mixed unit. You pay 11 points for a Beastkeeper. They're movement 5, but ignore that stat because you're never going to be moving 5 unless you take bears. You've got weapon skill, ballistic skill 4. You've got an elf stat line here, just a standard stat line, and leadership 8. Each Beastkeeper must take one of the following, and you can take 1 to 3 of the Hounds, Cats, and Boars, or a single Bear of Lorraine. Unfortunately, you can't mix and match. I think it'd be really I think it'd be cool to mix and match
Mm.
and just have a full zoo in a single unit, but maybe that would be too much because they do have Motley Crew, so you know they are set up to be able to be mix and match, but maybe that's too much. Run with the pack.
Mm.
While one or more Beastkeeper remains within the unit, they're not subject to Undiscipline, they do not fear models with flaming attacks, and they use the movement characteristic of the majority of the models in the unit. So that's almost always going to be more than 5, which is nice. And you can take them in the Grand Army as rare if you want to, which I probably don't, but I know. They're fun. If you like the classic sculpts as well, there's some nostalgia there.
That's what I was gonna mention, right? When I looked at the leaks earlier, I literally skipped these pages. Like, please be bad, please be bad. I don't want to
Because
have
you
to
looked at
buy
the
these
price.
models. Well, I looked at the model themselves even.
Oh yeah. So the models are old, so either you love them or you really do not like them. And
Mm,
then the price, I think they are
that's
coming
true.
in pretty ridiculously expensive, and you get all of the models. You don't
Right.
get to just be like, I want these ones specifically. So, would recommend looking at 3D prints or third party miniatures to replace these if you're interested
That's
in running
true.
a beast track.
They're just animals, right? So
Just
surely
get
there
some
will be some.
farmyard toys. You know, walking. Do Toys R Us still exist? Maybe they've closed down. Find whatever
Don't know.
shop is selling toys. Anyway, so the stat lines are. I'm a little underwhelmed, honestly, by these stat lines. So we're starting off with the Deepwood Hound, which are the fastest at movement 9, and then they're 3s across the board and 8 points a model. The Forest Cats are the same, but they're only weapons. Sorry, they're only movement 7. Slightly higher initiative. I don't really know why these two profiles exist because I don't think either of them do more than the other. I think I'm struggling to see a reason to ever take the cats over the hounds. The cats have armor
Well, they
bane
had the
1.
models, right? Had the models designed
Sure, but I
40
feel
years
like they
ago,
could
and they're
have
like, we
written
need to find a reason.
rules. I feel like they could have written the rules to give them like an actual distinct niche. Like maybe forest cats get swift
Mm.
stride, for example. Like I could see that being, or you know, the dogs get swift stride and the cats get AP1 on their attacks, or I don't know. There's probably something in there that they could have done. The boar
Mhm.
is slow at movement 6. It is bad weapon skill. It is strength and toughness 4, which is nice, so you're going to be wounded less. But again, still just a single attack at initiative 3. And then finally, we've got the Bear of Lorraine, which is movement 5, weapon skill 4, 4s across the board, and then 2 wounds and 2 attacks as well, which I think is interesting. You can only take 1 bear per bear keeper, whatever they're called, the beast keepers. But yeah, any thoughts on them?
I like bears. Bears are cool. No,
Yeah,
no, not really. I don't know. What do you think they bring something
I
to
think
the
if I'm
army?
looking at these,
Can play with characters in there?
there's two
With
things you can
characters?
do theoretically. So you go Deepwood Hound because they're the fastest, and you just go and send them to
Mm-hmm.
skirmish and deal with war machines, or you
Mm-hmm.
go probably the boars realistically because they have the best output, and you can take 3 per keeper, and they're double the points of the Bear of Lorraine, but they are effectively over double the output. Sorry, half the
Mm-hmm.
points, but more than half the output is what I'm trying to say, because you've got what have you got? You've got Furious Charge on the boars, so you get 2 attacks per, and then you've got Razor Tucks. So you've got 2 attacks at AP1, which is fine. Yeah, I mean, they kind of do something, but if I'm looking for a skirmish unit that costs too many points that does kind of some damage, I'm probably just running War Dancers,
Mm.
realistically. So yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, the only thing I'm seeing, but I don't know which character benefits here, but any character to movement 9 in this army without mounts, right? Oh no, you could already get mounts and characters anyway.
Yeah,
You give them some wounds. I don't know if that's worth it really. Just be fast in the enemy's face. But then you're still just got a character on foot. No, it's probably
yeah,
trash.
and because the unit type War Beast, I don't know that even screen characters if you don't have them join, because there is a magic item we'll get to
Mm,
which gives you fly and swift stride, or it might not be fly. I think it's just like move 10 in swift stride, but you can't join units, so like using them as a screen could be interesting. But
right.
I don't even know that they provide it because they're War Beasts here. I don't
Mm,
think it's ever been clarified how a unit with multiple unit types interacts. Honestly, who can
mm,
say? Who can say?
yeah.
But But yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like Forest Cats should probably be movement 8. Sylvan Boar should be movement 7 because Boar boys are movement 7 um, for orcs and goblins. The bear could probably go up to 6 pretty comfortably. You could put Swift Stride on, you know, maybe the hounds. Give the Forest Cats AP1 and a second attack. Just do something to give them a distinct niche. They don't even have to be good. I just like there to be a reason for them to be 4 different types of model. And I think right now, the cat and the hound are too similar. I don't see any reason for them both to exist. I think that's all I've got to say on the matter. Like they're I don't know. If you,
Cool. I'm glad we looked at this page.
yeah, you're running them because you like them. I think is the real reason.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hopefully there's something we're missing. If there is, let us know in the comments because I'd love to be
100%.
wrong about this unit. I want to come to the table with a full, barnyard, and my opponent look at me the same way they look at me when they see my dragon. That would be amazing. That'd be cool. Like, oh no, he's got 6 bears. How am I gonna beat him? How big can the unit get, actually? Can we do something interesting here? Okay, so it's an uncapped unit size. So, if you want to pay 31 points for 3 wounds between a bear and a beastkeeper, that's still just not good. I guess it's cheap wounds in the Forest Cats. Maybe there's, like, some screening that you want to do, because you're looking at 6, 12, 18, 29 points for 4 wounds. As elves go, that's cheap. And you can skirmish them, and you can put the cat bases sideways so they take up more space and screen that way. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not in love with them, but that's fine. We've tried, and if you've tried and succeeded,
and now next is the unit that's going to replace Sisters of the Thorn in Grand Army, right? You can't click the page.
Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on, it's Kindreds. Now, Kindreds are fantastic. So, there has been a little bit of doom and gloom, I think, as we've gone through. But now that we've reached the things that you can just run in Grand Army that buff characters, I think we've kind of hit the peak of the Arcane Journal. This is where the good stuff is, realistically. Obviously, there is a full video breaking down the Kindreds. Went out yesterday. I do some builds, so I don't necessarily feel like I need to talk at depth about these, but I do want to hear your opinions on them. So I'm going to read each one. I'm going to talk about, how they work, read each one, and then if you give me your thoughts on it, and if people want to hear my thoughts, they can watch yesterday's video. So, first of all, Kindreds, they only go on nobles and they go on mages, so you can't put them on like a Way Watcher to give it like a super juiced up Way Watcher or something like that. This is fine because they're effectively already in a Kindred, so this is just adding more flavor to your models. There are 2 types. There's the Altar Kindreds and the Noble Kindreds. You can't take both, but that's fine because you can only take a single Kindred no matter what you do anyway. And the way it works is that you can take the same Kindred multiple times in a list. There's nothing saying that you can only take a single Aspect of the Hound, for example. You could have 6 characters with Aspect of the Hound if you wanted to run, somehow 6 cheap characters, which is probably hard to do as elves. So, the first set are the Altar Kindreds. The Altar Kindreds are a little different than the Noble Kindreds in that they are not necessarily directly tied to units. Not that the Noble Kindreds only work with those, but they're not thematically linked to, like, Eternal Guard or something like that. However, if you join a unit when you've got an Altar Kindred, you do not bestow your leadership. That sounds like a downside. However, you still get your general's leadership if they have an Altar Kindred. So you can just take a leadership 10, put it, Aspect to the bear, have it riding around on a stag, still giving a bubble of leadership 10. So I'm not sure that's as much of a downside as you think, it initially might be when you first read it. So, first up, Aspect to the Hound, 20 points. A character who adopts the Aspect to the Hound and any unit they have joined may reroll any rolls to hit of a natural 1 during the combat phase.
Okay, I had missed any unit they have joined.
Yeah.
I thought that was useless.
Yeah, and then you read a little bit further, you're like, hold on.
Yeah, potentially. If we go back to our Eternal Guard, Death Star, or...
No. Put them in a good unit.
No? What are you thinking? War Dances.
War Dancers, that works. Although,
did you do it on a Shadow Dancer?
No, it's a character. I don't think you can give any characters immune psychology. It's basically this to me, Wild Riders.
Oh, Of course.
And
Yeah,
Wild Riders
that's
have a
cool.
lot of attacks.
They do. All right, cool. I'm in.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think this
I'll
is
try
one
that.
of the workhorses of the Kindred system. It's not particularly sexy, but you put a character in. Um, I think like a noble BSB, something like that, and then you just get multiple buffs, debuffs, stack with some forest
Yeah,
spirits. Yeah, good stuff.
cool, nice.
Aspect of the Bear, 15 points, infantry and cavalry only, so no T7 dragons. A character who adopts the aspect of the bear increases their strength and toughness characteristic by 1.
Sounds good. I think on your stack characters, their weakness is that it die to pillar of fire, right? So,
Yeah, God, that sucks.
so increased toughness by 1, they're less likely to die.
Yeah.
So it sounds good. Extra strength always welcome, because elves are just not very strong. So yeah, I
Yeah.
like it.
So,
And their bows also are boosted by that, right?
oh, that's
Especially the
true. I
bows.
hadn't even thought
So
about that. Yeah.
yeah, I like it.
T5 is nuts for an elf riding a stag, but also Strength
Mm.
5 it just opens up magic weapons that you wouldn't necessarily look at because they're kind of underwhelming, and then you go, oh, hold on, wait, Biting Blade at Strength 5, that's kind of just okay. One of the big downsides, I think, of the stag character previously is that you probably want to use a great weapon, which means that you're only getting a 3-up armor save in combat because you're not using your shield. Now you don't have to. It's good stuff.
I like it.
Aspect of the Boar, plus 10 points, and this is you get +1 to your AP of your weapons specifically, so it doesn't improve your impact hits, and then impact hits, you gain impact hits 1 as well on the turn you charge.
Yeah, I like it as well, to be honest. The extra AP would be welcome with, again, some of the weapons that you look at, like, oh, damn it, it's just AP1, but maybe it's got some good things to go with it. So, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, solid. The one that jumps out to me is the Giant Blade. If you look at Minotaurs, running Gouge Tusks with Giant Blade, so suddenly you're getting to that AP1. That, I think, is interesting. Maybe the poor strength of the elf holds them back, but yeah, as you say, it makes weapons that you wouldn't look at suddenly more palatable. And then finally, we've got Aspect of the Cat, plus 10 points, and it gives the character Armor Bane 1 and rerolled failed rolls to hit. And just a reminder, none of these apply to mounts, so this doesn't give dragons rerolls in a challenge.
Imagine.
I did.
No, that one probably less interesting. It's probably too specific, and at this point, we've seen already 3 good ones anyway. So yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this to me feels like the default one that you put on your challenge dragon, but I think that's too many eggs in one basket because you're already going like, here's the befuddlement of mischiefs, here's the all of the other stuff that you're layering on there to make it so that you definitely will a challenge. Just adding one more thing, I think all it does, you were going to win the challenge anyway, all it does is it make people less likely to accept the challenge or to be willing to be charged by your challenge dragon. So
then again, it's maybe good, with a dragon blade, ogre blade dragon,
yeah.
because my problem with that build was always it's just 4 attacks, and if you start missing some, then actually, it's not worth paying the points for the ogre blade getting squishier. But actually, maybe I like it again.
Yeah,
So
and it's
cool.
every round. It's not first round of combat, whereas a lot of those rules are. It's just if you're in a challenge, you're getting rerolls to hit.
All right,
Which I think is
I've
nice.
changed my mind. I like them all.
Yeah, cool. All right.
We can't stack them. Ah, damn it.
I think it may be overkill on a dragon, but if you're putting it on someone who you're tooling up to run around challenging, whatever that build looks like, especially if you're combining it with the befuddlement of mischief, so they're down, 1 weapon skill, you're hitting on 3s, you're re-rolling, you probably get a lot of value out of this. Cool.
Yeah.
Then we've got the noble kindreds, and these are the ones that are thematically tied to specific units or specific types. So my favourite one, the Glamour Weave Kindred, 25 points, mages only. You get a 5-up ward save just for free, for less than a Talisman of Protection, and you gain the Tree Spirit special rule. Now this is, on the one hand, you pass off your leadership to models with the Tree Spirit special rule. The downside is you can't join units without the Tree Spirit special rule. So this is very specifically, you want to be playing with Forest Spirits.
Yeah, it's interesting. Why do you like it? What's your
So
angle
here's the
here?
thing that everyone, so I've talked to 3 or 4 Wood Elf players who have kind of gone
Mm.
whatever, and I think as soon as you go, have you remembered that you can put the mage on a unicorn, and then they can join Treekin? At that point, it's
Mm.
like, oh, hold on, maybe there's something here.
So what are you thinking? Are you
There are
thinking
so many.
doppelganger?
Well,
That
so
one's a doppelganger.
I went. Yeah, that was my first thought.
Because this is a word save that doesn't come out of your point idle ones, so
It
it
is
still gets your
indeed. So
upper
you
blade
could
and
go either Ogre Blade, which it's not a good Ogre Blade character because you're only summoning
yeah,
5. But it's fine. It depends what you're expecting to
yeah.
play against. Illusion, if you do go down that route, you take either the Spear of Kernos, which is always wound on a 3, AP2 killing blow, which is, solid enough if you're
Mm-hmm.
expecting to kill infantry and cavalry. Or you go for the Ogre Blade, which is obviously, as we all know, strength 5, AP2, D3 wounds. Um, Illusion, you've got glittering robes in there. You've still got the flexibility because you're a slow unit. If someone comes and charges, like parks in front of you, the classic dragon parks in front of you and is planning to charge you next turn. Oh no, how do I get out? I'm just going to Miasmic Mirage you, you know. And
Mm.
sure, people run magic resist on dragons and stuff like that, but that's one of the options. Column of Crystal is, nice to have as well. I think that's the more fun but maybe less good build. I think realistically, you probably don't go that hard. You take Law Familiar just because you need to pick your spells, and you go either Battle Magic or High Magic, and you either back it up with High Magic, obviously Ethereal, which is solid,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've also got Battle Magic where you've just got an always on 5-up ward save and the ability to move twice. So the two issues Tree Spirits have is they are immobile and they don't do any damage. You can't deal with both of those issues. But if you, for example, take the Spite that gives you terror, and then there's an item that makes you reduce leadership of models within 6 inches of you, which you can still take with the Law Familiar, you can just have this unit that causes terror. If you're in combat with them, they're testing at -2 to run away for their leadership, so they don't actually need to do as much damage in theory. So yeah, I don't know.
It's in combat first, but yeah,
Yeah, um,
manage that,
and
manage that.
I think I really like Battle Magic for that purpose because the ward save means you've got a
Uh-huh.
5-up armor save, 5-up ward save, 5-up regen. Yes, it turns off against fire, but people are
Uh-huh.
probably not shooting you with a fireball if you're T5 with a 5-up save and a 5-up ward. Like at that point, you just go, like, I'll get
Mm.
2 wounds through if I'm lucky, and probably not even that, like 1 wound more realistically. So I
Uh-huh.
think the way this is going to work if people do play it is you take a brick of Treekin and you make them cause terror, and you just force loads of terror tests around the board with a unit that then
Mm.
theoretically doesn't die and can get itself out of trouble if needs be because it can just march 20 inches. I don't know.
You do the skirmisher, though, right? So,
Who's a skirmisher?
so this, you do lose skirmisher.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. You lose skirmish if you.
So,
I mean, if you wanted, what I'm assuming this is intended for is that you put a mage on foot in with dryads. I'm kind of not particularly excited about that. You could do it if you wanted. I
mm.
think the Treekin joining too is the thing that's
Okay.
more interesting.
Yeah, yeah, okay,
You know
cool.
when you're about to say something that you're like 99% sure is wrong. You can't join monsters. You can't just attach to a monster, can you? I'm pretty sure there's some rule that stops you.
What do you mean, like a wizard with a Truman
Yeah,
forming a unit? No, you can't do that.
but is there a rule that stops it? I'm sure there is. I need to check that.
Yeah, it's like it's is it lumbering? There's a rule like that that says like you don't want to get stomped or something like that.
Sure,
I
sure.
know there's churning wheels for like
For
heavy
heavy
chariot.
chariots. Well, that's what made me think
But
because, you know, light chariots can just join units because they kind of just missed that
uh,
rule.
it's,
And like, are we all just sat here going? I'm talking rubbish. I should just double check. I'll do that later on. But that'd be cool. That'd be cool. All right. So
mm,
Glamour Weave, big yes from me because you can join Treekin, that thing that the people are clamoring for. Eternal Kindred, 20 points. Infantry only. A character belonging to the Eternal Kindred and any unit they have joined reroll hit rolls of 1 during combat, and they also get to reroll failed wound rolls while within 6 inches of a special feature.
oh, there's a special feature thing again, right?
It is.
So conditionally good,
Yeah.
maybe. But
Conditionally
then
good.
yeah, so then probably bad.
Yeah. So I think it just boils down to the fact that we're not excited to run bricks of Eternal Guard. If you were
Yeah.
re-rolling ones to hit for 20 points, that's honestly solid. But
Mm.
I don't know that I care too much realistically. And again, they can't join War Dancers. If you could put this in War Dancers, I'd be like, all right, let's go. That would be good. But I don't think there's any way to give them immune
Yeah.
psychology. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Wild Rider Kindred, 20 points. This is a lot of rules that you get given. Nobles only. You must be mounted on a steed or a great stag, and you can only wear light armor, no shield or good magic armor for you. In addition, they gain countercharge through frenzy, furious charge, and talismanic tattoos.
I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
But you could already join the unit before. You gain an attack. Okay, what was the one that said was good before?
You wouldn't have had countercharge if you joined the unit before. For the
Oh, the stag doesn't have it.
No, stag doesn't have it, and the steed doesn't.
Right,
have
it's
it.
on the unit. Yeah. Okay. Then I guess you do need that then, right?
Frenzy and furious
Oh,
charge. You're getting 6 attacks with the ogre blade that you're definitely buying.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
If you're selling it, you're selling it. Yeah.
I'm not 100% sold that this is something that's going to be competitively the first route I go down, but I think it's fun. Like sometimes you just want to slam a unit of Wild Riders and go, you know what, this isn't enough damage. Let me do more damage, and this will do it. Finally, Scout Kindred, 15 points, infantry only. A character belonging to the Scout Kindred gains the quick shot and scout special rule.
It's okay. Scout's good. Okay, what? All right, come on. I see. You've got something.
You can put it on wizards.
You can put it on wizards, right? What do you do with a scouting wizard?
Well, so if you're playing a bow list, one of the issues is that if you go first, or if your opponent plays KG, how do you kill them at range if you're running Plague of Rust? You don't get a Plague of Rust turn 1. Suddenly you can Plague of Rust turn 1. Or, which is probably better, you can just drop a Pillar of Fire 12 inches away from them. Or 12 inches away from you, which is...
Well, then you're in dispel range, though, right?
Well, maybe. But scouts go down after
if you're
characters.
Scouting...
So you don't have to be within 12 inches of their wizard.
If you're scouting, you're not going first, though.
You're less likely to go first. That is absolutely a downside. I think it's very sort of like board dependent if you wanted to go Pillar of Fire. I think genuinely a level 2 wizard with Plague of Rust, a Power Scroll, and Lore Familiar, just that probably is decent because you can just go, all right, those chosen knights that are going to cause me an issue, instead of having 2 turns to shoot them, or sorry, instead of having 1 turn to shoot them, maybe I get 2 turns because I can shoot them turn 1 and they've only got a 4-up save from turn 1.
Yeah, it makes the you need to put your wizard in like more valuable to go after though.
If you put them in a unit, depends on the terrain.
Oh right, you want to scout it solo.
You could probably just run and like it super depends. I think if you're playing this playstyle, you're taking Deepwood Scouts anyway. You don't necessarily use their scout ability. Some games you probably just put the wizard behind some rocks and go. Do you want to chase this,
Yeah, I suppose if there's no skirmishers, you can march 10 each turn.
Yeah. And
around the feet.
Turn 1, drop the Pillar of Fire. Turn 2, 10 inches that way. Get me out of here. Also, my other spell I picked was Arcane Urgency. I probably don't cast it, but if I do, you've got a Pillar of Fire running through your, your double casket or whatever, and I'm 30 inches away from you in the back corner now.
Sure.
Yeah, I think
I like it.
Yeah, play that.
I like it.
I think
you're bringing the energy up. The mood is back now.
I've been so deep in elf bullshit for so long that I'm just like, I see the angles. We can do degenerate stuff. We're elves.
And it's thematic, right? It's about tricks. Yeah. So if the tricks were obvious, they wouldn't be tricks. So makes sense.
I think the thing I find funniest about this is I'm paying 15 points for scout for a character. I also gain the quick shot rule. Wizards don't come with a bow. So I just don't get it.
You can buy one.
They can buy a magic bow. They can't buy a
bow. The Ancient Disdain or whatever.
Yeah. But I'm probably not bothering to do that. I just think it's funny that I'm like, hey, I'm getting quick shot. Whatever. But that's fine. Speaking of quick shot, there is an item coming up which has quick shot, which I really like. So I think let's move on to the Lore of the Wilds, which is not the items I thought it was going to be. Smooth segue there. So Lore of the Wilds, you were pretty hyped about this. I think you're probably more hyped about this than me, which is good because we can balance out the enthusiasm. Which is, so if you're in the Taliesin detachment, you can take this, or if you take a 15-point extremely common magic item, you can take this on your wizards. So it's a full lore, the full 7 spells, and you start off with an enchantment which casts on an 8. This is your signature spell, so you can always swap into it. Casts on an 8, range self, until the next start of turn subphase. Any enemy models that direct a shooting attack specifically at the caster or their unit must reroll any rolls to hit of a natural 6. Am I putting a wizarding hat on my dragon? Because I don't want to get poisoned to death.
Yeah. I mean, that is a thing.
No,
it's not cheap item, wizarding hat.
It's
probably not doing it, but
it's interesting.
But I mean, that'd be funny. Yeah. If you know your opponent, if you're tailoring your list to your one guy at your shop you can't beat.
Yeah, you've got one guy who keeps going to your local RTTs who's just, absolutely stomping. He's playing something degenerate like the Goblin Poison Shooting Brick.
Oh yeah, wait.
Yeah,
so, my meta anyway.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting rule. It's the Mark and Nurgle, but for shooting, and obviously poison shooting is a big thing in the meta at the moment. So, how do you feel about this spell?
Well, okay, that's the first thing, right? That I looked at, and yeah, I don't think it's a great spell, and it's a signature spell. So, or it tells you, okay, this is not a lore probably that we want to be rolling on.
Sure.
So yeah, no, I don't love that one.
Yeah.
Next.
Counterpoint. Tree Singing is a really good signature spell, so you're kind of not bothered. Yeah. So you can.
So you have a problem though, because we'll see the rest of the lore, because then you can't take lore familiar to get the spells you want in the lore.
Yeah, just take 2 wizards. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Yeah.
Perfect. So now my memory of magic missiles from Wood Elves is basically Flock of Crows or something like that, and the current version is bad. I think the 6th edition version was okay, but not super impressive. So I'm sure this is probably not great. Fury of Athel-Aren, cast on a 10, high for a magic missile. 18-inch range, okay, that's fine. Target enemy unit suffers D3 plus 1, strength 6 hits, AP 2, multiple wounds 2. Excuse you? That is a beefy magic missile.
Yeah, and nothing to add. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great. Love it.
I mean, the D3 plus 1 is a little bit low. I'd rather see a D1 plus 3. Just get the 4 shots every time. But yeah, this is interesting for sure. Do you have Peg Knights? Not anymore, you don't.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is the 5-up, 5-up save against it, but there are things like even a dragon doesn't love getting shot by this. There's a lot of things in the meta that kind of just look at it and go, wait, hold on now. I don't really want to be shot by this for multiple turns.
Yeah, it's good. I like that.
Perfect. Ariel's Blessing 2, enchantment, cast in a 9. 10-inch range. Until your next start of turn subphase, the target unit gains the regeneration 5+ special rule.
Yeah, that's great. There's plenty of ways to make that work. Whether it's to boost your Wild Riders, your Dragon, or your Bunker.
Yeah.
Great.
If we compare it to Earthen Ramparts, for an army that probably wants to be doing the charging because they're so squishy, Earthen Ramparts casts on a 10 instead of a 9, which is worse. Has ward save instead of regen. Ward saves are better generally. But also, Earthen Rampart stops you from marching and charging. This is just, it's easy to cast, have a regen save. Off you go. I think that's really.
But again, meta dependent, because Earthen Ramparts, we know some meta say that you are not in base contact. Stop storms.
Specifically for Wood Elves, I don't think that matters, because if you get caught by something that does stomps,
that's true. All right,
anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
But well, I mean, you say that. Again, in France, there are some people that play. You don't get all your attacks. You don't get multiple attacks. So if a dragon charges, it's got no impact hits, no stomps, 1 attack. Okay, yeah, I think you can win combat against that.
Yeah, of course. If we're playing made-up rules, then sure, we can. Turns out, actually, all of your models have
Mm.
attack characteristics 0 because I say so. But anyway, that
Wow.
aside, that aside, um, Spiteful Torrent, Magical Vortex. It casts on a 10. It's a 15-inch range. I wonder if we get to choose the direction it goes in. Do you think they've repeated
Mm.
that mistake? No. Remains in play, 3-inch small blast template within 15. That's a good range for a Vortex. While in play, it's dangerous terrain. It moves d6 in a random direction during every start of turn subphase. And if it touches an enemy unit, so specifically enemy, it's
Mm.
3d6 strength 2 hits, AP 1. It's a good job that this is enemy units only, because if this hit you, that is wiping squads of elves. This is,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Um. I mean, yeah, vortex moves randomly. No addition. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's a winding vortex, right? So as in the ones that don't move randomly, if they have additional effects, is fine. But
Sure.
that move randomly and have additional effects.
I
Anyways,
think as like the fourth
but
spell you take in a lore, it's super fine. I don't hate it.
mm,
For an army like Wood Elves, where you're probably playing keep away, just having some dangerous terrain that's kind of in the middle of things, mixing stuff up as the people run towards you, I think Wood Elves are an army where having a vortex that moves randomly is less of a hindrance for the Wood Elf player than some of the other armies. I still don't
mhm.
love it, but I'll take it as the fourth spell. I don't mind that at all. Durthu's Wrath. This is the one that I alluded to about a week ago. There is an assailment spell. It casts on a 10 plus. It is a combat range spell, and each model in the fighting rank of a unit that the caster is engaged with must make an initiative test. Each model that fails this test suffers D3 strength for hits. No armor save permitted.
Take that, Linehammer dwarves. I mean,
Dwarves, undead, the two armies that like to go wide, Graveguard and Longbeards or Rangers.
mhm.
This is
Yeah, hilarious.
yeah. I mean, it's if we're playing at a tournament and you roll this spell, I am putting you on a clock because you do have the wounds don't spill over. It's each model takes the wounds, so you've got to roll D3 hits per model to see if each one
Right.
dies, which is quite slow. Very strong though.
Mm.
If I'm running 14 wide Graveguard, I deserve to be having to make 14 initiative tests.
Yep.
So yeah, I think this is really interesting. It's an interesting assailment. I feel like baseline, it's probably about as good as most assailments, where if you're against 5 models or 6 models wide that are initiative 3 or 4, you're like, oh, I've done some damage here. But then it has some really ludicrous cases where your opponent just doesn't really get to play super wide, which I think is fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's got the same premise as I said before. It's what unit is your castering that it's actually happy to charge this unit, right? So again, it requires building around, I suppose,
You're not
compared to
you're not putting
the
wizards
traditional.
in Wild Riders.
Maybe I am now. I don't know. I
Maybe
don't
you
know.
are, yeah. I feel like maybe it's something you flex into if you're like, oh, hey, they're
Yeah.
playing, really wide, a huge unit of shooting, I don't know, shooting skeletons. Sure, like
Mhm.
we'll just do some more wounds with that initiative test.
Mhm.
Hidden Pathways, Conveyance. Cast on an 8, range 12. Until your next start of turn subphase, the target friendly unit gains the reserve move special rule and may perform a quick turn, even if it would not be able to normally do so. Which quick turn is just the pivot that an open order unit gets to do. I believe, is that correct?
Mm.
Let's just say
Yeah.
yes. I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh yeah. Sorry. So yeah. Yes. That's 100%. What's that good on? What do you want to put down? I mean, reserve moves always useful if you plan on shooting. So maybe on Orion.
Yeah.
What
True.
I'm thinking of.
Treekin.
Mm. Yeah.
Treekin and Treemen. Again, not units that you typically see a lot of, but that's nice. This would be really good on Glade Guard Glade Riders if you didn't already have reserve move, just the ability to buy it. So that's a little bit less exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no reserve move and the ability to do a quick turn. If you've got a racked, this would go crazy on Eternal Guard. If we're playing Eternal Guard, giving them the ability to actually move quite reasonably well, that's solid. I'm not, but if I was.
Sure.
And
they have their drilled as well, so they can get
oh,
even
that's
even
true.
further. Right?
Ooh, That's kind of nasty. Finally, we've got Sapping Blight, which is a hex cast on a 9 with a 12-inch range. Until your next start a turn subphase, the target enemy unit is minus D3 strength to a minimum of 1. It can hex something in combat, however, it overwrites previous hexes, so if you've got multiple hexes, make sure you cast them in the correct order. Otherwise, you lose them. This is...
I think it's decent.
I'm just looking at it and I'm sad because Itchy Nuisance exists, which is minus D3 strength and toughness.
No, it's not strength. Itchy Nuisance.
Oh, is it toughness and initiative?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, in that case I'm less sad. I've just in my head made a spell better, so I was comparing it to something that didn't exist.
It can be situationally useful, right? It's short range though, so it's a bit risky. And yeah, you don't have. So if we think about the Wild Rider Full Send, right, you don't have a level 4 in there, and this law is probably too high casting value on average to get with level 2s. So because otherwise that would have been good in there, to not get struck. But basically it's kind of kill or die with your Full Send Wild Riders thing. And this would have been a good way to just stay alive. But fortunately, you probably don't take it in the army.
This feels like the sort of jumping through hoops that elves need to do for defensive boosts, basically. This is kind of what I'd expect a defensive ability for elves to look like.
Yeah, I don't hate it. You're about to get charged. It's your way to survive, to save your wizard. Potentially, that's about to get charged by Beg Knights or something like that. Maybe that's how.
Or, if you are running a dragon, and you're locked up in combat with their dragon, suddenly their dragon is strength 4. And their chaos
it's on 5s. Of course, depends who it is, but yeah.
I think there's definitely some flexible use in there. I don't love it, just personally. It's not the sort of ability that I like to use myself, but I don't think it's bad. It's just not one that I'm particularly enthused about. So yeah, overall thoughts on the spell lore of the wilds. What are you thinking?
I'm trying to think if I got Lore Familiar, what do I take? So I take the Magic Missile.
Oh yeah.
I take the Regeneration.
Yeah.
And then the rest is a bit more situational. Yeah.
Which I think is good.
So yeah, you can decide. But I don't want to roll on this lore though. I think because I want these first two and build around that.
Yeah.
And then see what's and after that pick depending on my enemy. Yeah.
And Wood Elves don't have, unfortunately, access to a spell familiar. If they did, I think this lore is you'll go spell familiar. Some like one in 6 games you don't get Fury of Athaloren. You're like, oh well, that sucks. But most of the time you'd be fine with it. But yeah, no, I think it's solid enough. So I think we'll see people playing around with it. And then we've got the magic items. There is some interesting stuff in here, and I'm going to remain calm and not blow my top at the fact that yet again, High Elves' bow is worse than Wood Elves. Deep breaths.
Right.
It's worse. It's for no reason. It's worse than the bow of the Seafarer. So Vol's Wrath.
Yeah, the other way around.
55 points. 5 points more, and also making it very difficult to take. Range 32. Yep. We get +2 inch range. That's good. I'll take that. Strength +1. So realistically, you're putting this on a Lord because you have to, which means that you're Strength 5. So we're equal to the Bow of the Seafarer. AP 2, no Armor Bane. So we're worse than the Bow of the Seafarer there. Flame attacks, which is often a downside. Magical attacks, multiple wounds 2. Once per game, unless the wielder moved in the previous movement phase, you can shoot it like a bolt thrower using through and through. Why is this worse?
Yeah, no, for sure. I hate. Well, first of all, I hate that it's 55 points, right? Like, why do they hate Waystalkers?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I like Werewatchers. I think they're cool. I want to play them, but then they have a character that's just attacks and a liability because it just doesn't do enough for his points, and all we need is a cool bow to go with it, and this is just not it. It's just not it. It's just not the price for it. So
it's so frustrating. Like, and also, even if like you can't, but if it was 50 points and you could put it on a unit champion, it would only be strength 4. It's just worse in that respect than the Bow of Loren as well. I do not understand it. It almost feels like this edition was written by people who don't like Wood Elves. And like it's just, you look at stuff like this, you're like, I don't understand why this exists in the form that it does. Wood Elves should be better at shooting than High Elves. Why is every bow they have worse than the bows that High Elves have? I do not understand.
Wait until we get to the regeneration item.
Yeah. Dice Reaper, 40 points. This is a combat weapon. Strength +1, AP -1, magic attacks. Enemy models must reroll successful armor saves against wounds caused by this weapon. You know what? That's kind of cool. I like that. You know what you were saying about earlier about the Kindred that gives you +1 AP?
Exactly.
Suddenly, you're opening up.
Yeah.
AP2 reroll.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
That's not bad. And your strength +1, so your strength 5. This is at 40 points. That's playable, I think. You have to build around it, but I think you can build around it. And it gives you 60 points remaining, so you can still take other things. You're not tied into just being like, oh god, well I take my Ogre Blade, but then all I can take is a Talisman of Protection. That's my one choice that I can make. So I actually think Dice Reaper is cool, and given that it's called Reaper, it's a great modelling potential to just have an elf running around with a big scythe, which, hell yeah.
Nice. Yeah, agree with you. I, looking at it in a vacuum earlier, I was arguing with my mate saying, yeah, this is like just a great weapon,
Yeah.
But yeah, with the Kindred we talked about earlier, yeah, I can see it.
I almost wonder is it a spectral doppelganger weapon as well? Because it's only 40 points, so if you don't want to go for the Forest Spirits, you can go Talisman of Protection and Lore Familiar, and that perfectly fits in 100 points. You're only strength 4. You'd be AP2 still. You're making them take reroll saves. I'm not saying it's the most exciting spectral doppelganger weapon, but if you want to fit it in without doing the Forest Spirit shenanigans, it might be the best way to do it and not immediately fall over. Something to think about there.
I think I need someone smarter than me to run the math here.
Yeah.
To tell me if the reroll on the arm save is good.
Oh yeah, no, it's huge.
How good it is compared to...
just baseline. So let's say that you've got a 2-up armor save, and the equivalent that you could be looking at is a great weapon. Now the great weapon has better strength, but let's just look at the wounds. So for a 2-up save, you go from passing with the great weapon at AP3, because we're taking the same Kindred. They pass a third of the saves. If they have to re-roll a 4-up save, they're passing a quarter of the saves. And now, I know that this is complex for some people to believe, and I'm not even being facetious, but a quarter is worse than a third. It's like less than a third. The whole marketing campaign where the third pounder didn't do very well because people thought it was less than the quarter pounder. But yeah, so like, and that's, as extreme as it gets. If you go down further,
yeah. The question is are you still wounding, right, to begin with? That's where the difference needs to be worked out.
Sure, but I don't think it's going to make it depends what targets you're going into. So anything T6 is obviously worse, but I think the breakpoint of T4 and better, it's just out and out going to be more impressive. Obviously, we are comboing this with the aspect of the boar, I think it is, that gives you +1 to your AP, and then also an impact hit as well, just because. No, it's only wounds caused by this weapon. I was hoping they'd have to re-roll wounds from the thing as well. But yeah, that's fine. I like this. I think this is an interesting build-around magic item, and it's cheap enough that you actually can. Hunt Master's Pride, 35 points. This is Orion's Wild Hunt army only. And the multiple wounds 2 is only against monstrous infantry, cavalry, creatures, or behemoths. So that is a shame, because that's almost everything you'd want it to be against, but not characters. So if you ever come up against a character that's on a chariot or a horse, you lose your multiple wounds, which sucks. However, it is strength user, so already not great. AP2, multiple wounds 2. This feels like, in my opinion, a slightly better Giant's Blade, but it's really meta dependent as to whether you want to take it.
Yeah, I was thinking reading it. the Frontier Axe came to my head, and I shouldn't do this to myself. It shouldn't be the benchmark, but it still came to my mind, and yeah,
Yeah.
let's not talk about that.
No. This is, yeah, I think there's maybe a world that you take this, but I feel like you take it because of the meta you're playing in. And you probably combo it with aspect of the bear, so you're getting up to strength 5, AP2, multiple wounds there is fine. Like, maybe this is something you put on a stag lord that you want to cleave through a couple of models. I don't know. Not in love with it, but I'm not going to write it off immediately. Blades of Endless Flame, 25 points, strength user, AP -1, extra attacks 1, multiple flaming attacks, magical attacks.
No,
No.
no,
I think it's hard to get extra attacks, to be fair. So maybe...
Oh, sorry, if you want to have my mouse working.
Yeah, maybe this is something that you look at on a War Dancer, because they can still do their dances with the magic weapons, but I think the magic, like the normal weapons they can just use.
Yeah, the Snare of Loic is
better.
really good, I think.
Yeah, so
he's
like
got healing blow natively.
yeah, it's hard to
So I
justify
think
25 points. If this was like, I know the extra attack and the AP1 cost points, you couldn't justify charging 10 points, but I'd probably pay 10 points for this. As soon as you hit 15 points, I'm probably just looking at it and going, I'll maybe just take the Biting Blade instead. Like, AP1 doesn't feel great, and I guess you could combo it with the ball, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not in love with this. It doesn't do it for me. But that's fine. Honestly, the middle two are decent, and then the Vol's Wrath is actually probably playable. I'm just really upset that it's worse than, anything else.
Yeah, you know, it can be taken on the Dazzling guy because he had 75 points.
Yeah.
And then I think he had basic skill of just 4, right?
If you could... Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm struggling to think where I'd put it, because on my Lords, I really want to tilt them up to the 9s with magic items.
Exactly. Do you want a 200-point bolt thrower once per game bolt?
I don't want an 80-point bolt thrower, otherwise I'd be playing them in
Yeah.
So
when you're ignoring cover, you're hitting more often, right? But then the bolt thrower, but still.
Once per game, it's a bolt thrower as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So these two in the middle I think are interesting. At least you can build around.
Yeah.
Magic items: Mantle of Rebirth, 40 points, light armor, and it gets regen 5+.
Yeah, I like gaining regen, but fucking hell, the price. 40 points, and it's replacing your armor.
Yeah,
it's costly. You're losing if you're on a dragon. Obviously, you're losing. You can't use your full plate from the dragon.
Yeah.
If you're on the stag, you're losing your bedazzling helm.
Yeah.
So it is costly to gain that regen. I just stick to the regen from the Arya's blessing from the.
I think if you're running wild rider characters, it's got a place. Because you're limited to light armor only. You're not getting armor saves, realistically, so you may as well just go, give me, here's some magic light armor that gives me a regen save.
That's it. You need to look at what you lose to take it, right? And maybe on this character, that's maybe not actually losing anything. It's okay.
Yeah. I think if the problem is it's 40 points. If it was 35, if you want to run... Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it exists. And it's hard to get good armor saves. So maybe if you were going like a Warhawk character, you don't even try and lean into the armor save, and you go this and a Talisman of Protection. Maybe there's something there. I don't know why you do that, but I could see that being an angle to go down if we're talking about what characters do you want to put this on. Yeah, I don't know. This next one's cool though. Cloak of Tumbling Leaves, 30 points. Model whose troop type is regular or heavy infantry only. It's a suit of light armor. You also get Fly 10 and Swift Stride, however you can't join units.
It's funny, but on an infantry character not being able to join a unit, I don't know. Seems
you can be around all of the skirmishing infantry you've got. You can put this on a character that's got the Mark of the Bear, and suddenly you're, T4, and you've got Strength 5 natively, and you're just running around with a great weapon. 4 attacks with a Strength 7 great weapon as a protector for your skirmishing shooting. I feel like there's something here. I'm interested to play around with it, because it's the first time I think we've seen the have a missile character, but also you actually are a missile, because the Flying Carpet, that's move 8, and I don't think you get Swift Stride, if I remember
I think
correctly.
you do.
You do? Oh,
Might be wrong.
I hope
It's
you don't,
a
because if
a
you
drill
do,
of high things.
that is and nobody's playing it, that means that this item is definitely not
It's
good.
10 points more though. But
That's
yeah.
true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, you can take this and an Ogre Blade, and
Yeah.
then die very quickly.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's probably not what I want on my Lord.
No.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan, but like it'll have like this gimmick. It'll work in one game, in
Yeah.
friendly game, and
I mean, honestly,
but probably not.
this is just good for a foot wizard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just like, oh, I'm not playing cavalry, so I can't actually hide. I can't be screened by cavalry. I guess I'll just take this on my foot wizard and fly around. Like, that's probably the answer for it. But I feel like this to me looks like something that will get played at some point, and I don't know how or why, but I think there's something.
You need a pillar nerf, right? Otherwise, you again not being able to hide when you've got these things that can just snipe you. It's just scary.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I think that's entirely fair. But you know what? I'm just going to fly up to them and say, I demand to see your manager, and roll the dice because I'm currently in dispel range and dispel their spells. Yeah, no, I like this. You are right. Pillar of Fire is an issue, but I feel like at some point in the next 2 or 3 years, this is going to be used in some sort of tournament winning list, and I'll be able to go. I told you. Didn't I tell you? I didn't tell you what, but I just said it'll be there. Talismans. The bearer of Ariel's Favour for 30 points has the Magic Resist 2 special rule. I'm not really sure why this exists.
I mean,
because you could just.
I'd have to rethink now. Well, so how much is 2 lodestone? Is it 30 as well?
30 points.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
I
was gonna say anyway. Sometimes on my dragon, if I've got points left, I just.
You know what? I might be talking rubbish. Actually, I actually think it might be.
I think they're 20 each, right?
I think they are 20p. Yeah. Okay. So you do save some points. Okay, that's fine. I think I was just being too harsh on them. Yeah. No. Okay. Magic Resist for 30 points is probably about where it should cost.
But then again, it's a talisman and non-common, so then I'm not putting that on my dragon, right?
Yeah.
My talisman of protection. So never mind. Where do I put that on the character inside the unit? I guess.
Unit champions is good.
Is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who can take 50 points, but
elves generally can. I don't know off the top of my head. I know the new Guardians of Taliesin can. I'm just going to tell you what. I'm just going to very quickly check because I've got my phone here. I think Wild Riders probably can, and Magic Resist 2 on Wild Riders is honestly probably a good place to have that. I don't love.
I reckon they can't. That's my guess.
You don't think they can? All right, moment of truth.
25 Wild Riders. Yeah.
God damn it. You were supposed
to be 25.
Supposed to be the chosen ones. Bloody elves.
I know, right?
All right, that's fine. Never mind.
All right.
It's there. It exists. I'm happy that it does exist because sometimes you will want to buy Magic Resist for a unit. This next one you can't ruin my joy at because this is bloody amazing. Orion's Favour, 25 points, same as a Paymaster's Coin, single use. The bearer of Orion's Favour can reroll any failed rolls to hit and or to wound made during the combat phase. Yeah. That's a double Paymaster's Coin for the same price. I like it. It's not extremely common. I probably couldn't find points to put 2 of them in, realistically. But I can go, Ogre Blade and this on my character. The character...
Dragon Slayer Sword. In the right meta.
Honestly, that's a really good shout, and I don't know why I didn't think of it. Good shout. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, Dragon Slayer Sword. Interesting. There's no way to get Killing Blow and Monster Slayer on the same character, I think, in Wood Elves. I don't think they've got any of those items to do both. Which is a shame, because that would be good.
So.
Yeah. Or you put this on, your Spear of Kurnos character if we get into an infantry meta and suddenly you're just like, I wish to cleave. Cool. Yeah, I think that's really good. I think this is not, like, super sexy. It's not, like, the build
25 fits. 25 fits on the Wild Rider champion
that's
as well.
true, actually.
There you go. That's a good one on
That's
that.
actually kind of cool. Yeah, maybe you do put that on a Wild Rider character because I think you get 5 attacks right on the Wild Rider character. Let me just double check because I have Wild Riders open. So they start off at
2 base, right?
they start off at
I think
2,
you get 4.
and they've got Furious Charge and Frenzy, so they get up to 4. Okay,
Mhm.
so 4 attacks hitting on Weapon Skill 5 and their Strength 5. Yeah, rerolling hits and wounds on that is not awful. Like, I think it's one of the first things that gets cut when you're writing a list, but if you're in the Wild Hunt
But they're
detachment...
cool now in the Wild Hunt.
Oh,
So
that's
you
true!
wanna bulk it up a bit.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Kind of like a Ring of Fury, but...
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
I liked
maybe.
it already. You've sold me on it more. That's cool. I'm a big fan
Nice.
of Ryan's favour. Cool. And then we've got the magic standards. This is the one that you were laughing at earlier.
Okay. Amazing magic standards.
Tapestry of Taliesin. BSB in the host of Taliesin Army of Infamy only. They increase the command range to 18 inches, and in addition, friendly units within the bearer's command range improve their leadership characteristic by 1. But they don't stop you from reducing the leadership. If this was a bubble of you can't have your leadership reduced, I'm on board. Get out of here,
Yeah,
Undead.
yeah.
But it's not that.
It wouldn't be too different from the Bretonnian one, right? But yeah, as it stands, just +1 leadership for 80 points. Yeah, sad.
Yeah, and 18-inch range command range, which is nice. You're going to be spread more wide on Wood Elves, but it's so many points. I just don't see this being something that I want to take. However, there is something that I kind of do want to take, and that's the Banner of the Wild Hunt. And you know where you can put this? You can put this on your magical standard in the... I mean, even on Glade Riders, you can have 25 points of magic banners. So, Banner of the Wild Hunt, only taken in a Orion's Wild Hunt Army of Infamy army. When calculating combat results, you get +1 to your combat res, so you can double stack this with War Banner. In addition, the unit may re-roll pursuit rolls. This is going on the Wild Riders. Wild Riders are frenzied. If you're frenzied, you have to pursue. Just make sure you catch them. Just make sure you catch them. And then you catch them and you're like, oh, I get to test to, turn around now. Cool. Perfect. Suddenly my frenzy was not an issue. I really like this at 25 points. This is good. The only thing I have is is it better than Rampaging Banner if I can only put 1 on my BSB in that sort of aggressive list where you get to reroll charges? I really like it.
You consider probably... would you consider the Vanguard as well, potentially? On that unit, if you just want to go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then again, you probably take 2 units anyway, so...
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
500 points.
Just take all of the magic banners, take both of those and 1 on the BSB. Jobs are good. I was taking the BSB anyway, so I could take the Hound aspect to give my unit reroll 1s to hit. Screw it. Let's just also give them, the banner that gives them this or reroll charges. I think, yeah, that works really nicely. Standard of Morning Chill, 25 points. You can cast the Swirling Mist spell from the Lore of the Wilds as a bound spell, power level 2. 25 points. It gives the unit 6s to hit in the shooting phase, must be re-rolled.
Oh, that was a signature one, right?
Yeah.
We already said we were not taking the signature spell.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think you're not paying 25 points to cast it at level 2.
If you're going, I'm playing Eternal Guard, and I don't want to get shot to pieces, sure. I like this more than I like taking a wizard to do that job. But, yeah. I'm not super in love with it. There is one I am in love with, though. Banner of Springtide, 20 points. You get Quick Shot. Quick Shot's such a good rule. No penalty for moving and shooting. You can standard shoot at half range. Hell yeah. What's not to like?
Yeah, that's decent. Only thing is obviously some, your shooting is tend to be small, right? It's the only thing. So
sure.
So does it benefit from a 20 points banner? I don't know. The first thing I thought is, okay, that's maybe the banner you put. Maybe that's it. We entered the era of the Glade Guard Poison Break with that, but probably not.
No, I don't
probably
think
not.
so.
It doesn't have enough. Doesn't have it. It's too expensive. Doesn't have the static res. Doesn't have the survivability at all. So yeah, do you want to put 20 points banner on a unit, or
You know where I would put it?
just get spread it around a bit more?
On a unit
Tell me.
of 8 Glade Riders that I've attached my wizard to. It's
Yeah,
always going to be
yeah,
moving. It's always going to be shooting. I'll just make them a bit better. I'll give them magical
yeah.
shots as well from the spite that costs 10 points.
Mm,
Yeah, just nice and
yeah,
efficient.
yeah. I do like the ignore cover one though, because there's
That's
such
pretty.
weird odd spaces, right? Well, you struggle depending on the size of the unit. If it's like 8 models,
Yeah.
they'll obscure line of sight to each other. So it competes. I don't know to test.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think this is solid. I think this is not a bad 20-point upgrade to put in the army. Enchanted items, Crown of Antlers, 35 points. This is one of my favourites. You gain Armor Bane 1 and also D3 impact hits, and your impact hits are at AP 2.
Yeah, there's some combos there, right?
Yeah, like
It's fun.
a stag with the
Uh-huh.
aspect of the boar, so you can get D3 plus 2 impact hits. And obviously, they don't all have the
Ball
same
stag.
rules.
Lovely.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
Uh-huh.
Moonstone of the Hidden Ways, 30 points. Single use. You may cast the Forest Walker spell from the Lore of Athaloren as a bound spell with a power level of 3. So for anyone who hasn't seen this, which you won't have done because it competes with with tree singing, you may cast this on a friendly character within range in the remaining moves phase because it's conveyance, and the model is picked up and teleported to another wood, basically.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
hate
not a
that.
fan. Really.
I
I think
I think there's
you've got to think who you put there. Basically, you'd
a
want to move
stag.
your well, yes, but no, because
Yeah.
it takes some time to set up. You need to start your movements in the forest, right? And then you teleport, and it basically is 2 turns that you do nothing with your stag because it's a conveyance, right?
Mm.
You've missed your charges already. So yes, you save your stag if it was ever in danger,
Yeah.
but
I think you can move
it's two
into
turns that
the. I think you can move into the wood. I don't think you have to already be in the
yeah.
wood. So I think it's a one turn of setup. So like either you start in the wood and then turn 1 you teleport into their deployment zone, which can be screened out, or turn 2 you cast tree singing on the other side of the board. And you're like, my stag is now back in the fight where it needs to be. I don't know. I'll be clear. I'm not sure that I'm taking this, but I like it. I think there are enough
Yeah.
mind game plays in there that I'm like, this might have a place. And you never really take Forest Walker because it competes with tree singing, and tree singing is what you need to make this good anyway. So I think there is a world where this goes into a list. And also, if you're taking Treeman Ancients, it lets you put them somewhere useful.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. And it depends on your map, I guess.
I
Yeah,
was
why not?
just about to say, if you're playing WTC with a single wood, probably not.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in my deployment zone, is it? Well,
Mm.
shame.
Well, there'll be a second wood. You place one. But yeah.
There's 2 woods in my deployment zone. Neat. Blight tipped arrows, 15 points. Single use, model with Azrai longbow only, which, if we just double check, this is not an Azrai longbow. You cannot take Vol's Wrath, the magic bow, and fire it from there. Great. I guess technically you don't fire it from there. It's just you can only buy it if you've got a Azrai longbow. So if you have one on your noble as well, sure. I don't love that. You have to buy a bow and the magic bow just to use this arrow. Anyway, 15 points, extremely common, single use. You fire it as normal, and if the enemy suffers an unsaved wound from it, it's just a normal arrow with no AP, so good luck. At the beginning of each subsequent starter turn subphase, that model must take a toughness test. If failed, they immediately suffer a single wound with no armor or regen. Armor or regen permitted ward saves may be attempted as normal. This is terrible.
Yeah.
This is awful.
It's yeah. You could use both Lauren and get multi shots, but still.
No,
Since
it's a
it just
single
doesn't.
use. So, and also it's been FAQ'd that your first shot.
It's not an enchanted arrow, right? It's just
Oh, sure. I see
fire
what you're
as
saying.
normal. I mean, it's still too expensive for what it is. But yeah,
I think it would only apply to the first shot, if I'm being realistic.
right.
I don't think it
So it's
applies
even
to the
worse.
second one.
All
Yeah.
right, cool.
I mean, you could buy
Well, why would we have fun
you
now?
could buy 2 of them, spend 30 points on
Yay!
never having the effect go off. Yeah, no, I don't think this
Nice.
is good. And
Yeah.
also, no, it wouldn't stack with those because when you're firing those enchanted arrows, that is just firing enchanted arrows. That's in you don't get to fire those, and this is a magic arrow. I'm pretty sure because it's a different thing. So that's just even worse. Yeah, no, this is terrible. We can move on. I don't see
Great.
a place for it.
Yeah.
Arcane items. This is difficult because the arcane items that you have already, the broken stave, incredibly good. So it's going to be hard to complete. Orb of Midsummer. For 35 points, you can Moonlight as a high elf. Once per turn, you can re-roll a casting roll. Now, this is better than what high elves get for free because they can only re-roll a failed cast. This is just straight up re-roll a casting roll. I think that gets you out of miscasting, to be fair, because it's not failed. I think it's just if you roll the dice, you get to re-roll it.
Well, I can tell you, no one's let me reroll my miscast with an Idol of Gork, so
Is that
I
does that not say
reckon
it's a failed cast?
no.
Oh, okay, never mind. You just can't re-roll then.
But there's definitely, I've seen multiple arguments online about it, so there is an argument for it, and it's one of those ask your TO things.
Sure.
I can see the argument being made. It's potentially valid, and if it says yes, it's really good, especially if you don't have as many forests, right? Because obviously Arcane Stave needs to have roots to function properly. Maybe in the army that's a little less mobile, like the 1000 one, right? Maybe because
Sure.
again, you need the mobility is around that you
I don't
used
think
to
it's a
is
bad
your
item.
Cage Riders plus and your reserve move, and if you don't have that, then you're not necessarily next to a wood, and then you might consider other items.
The idol does
It's
give
okay.
you +3 to your casting range as well, which is it's hard to justify paying that many points for just a single rule, but it's fine. If you
100%. Yeah.
if you
It's
really
the main reason that
reliably want to cast tree singing, this is probably the item for you. Sure. Heartwood Pendant. 15 points, extremely common. In addition to the Lords of Magic they normally know spells from, the bearer of the Heartwood Pendant may know spells from the Lore of the Wilds. I read this wrong the first time. I thought you could take from multiple lores. I think this just means that you have to declare that you're taking from the Lore of the Wilds. I don't think there's... I don't think you get a double dip here.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, you just...
Yeah, it's alright. I mean, we said that's how you access it, right?
Sure.
Annoying to have to pay for it, but you have to decide, right? Maybe it fits your build, and you want that. You really want that lore in your list because you build something around it. Why not?
My wizards normally have at least 15 points spare in the magic item slot, so
yeah, exactly.
It's fine. And then Sigil of the Mage Queen, single use, 25 points. You may use it before making a casting roll. If you do, you apply a +2 modifier to that casting roll. It's a power scroll, but arguably better. It
But
doesn't.
not common.
No, that's true. It doesn't smooth out the way that Power Scroll does, where you're less likely to get a bad roll, but you're also less likely to miscast. However, the fact that it isn't extremely common is an issue, as you have pointed out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. It exists. I'm probably not taking it, but I'm not upset that it exists.
Nope.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that takes us to the end. So we've gone through the full book. It's been the better part of 2 hours to go through all of those rules. Lots of stuff in there. Lots of stuff I think to play around with. I'm really looking forward to playing some Wood Elves. Any closing thoughts on the Arcane Journal?
Yeah, I think on first read at the beginning of the video, I was a bit more negative, right? And I was about a lot of the things we talked about, but when we got to the kindreds, which I had looked very, very briefly before, and when we talk a bit more about the combos, the things that you can do, I think it's still a bit more exciting. I'm still not super excited about the 1000 Army of Infamy. I'm more excited about trying the Wild Riders, the Wild Hunt. I don't know that for my competitive army that's the next thing, but there are some cool things. So yeah, good stuff.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for getting to the end of the video. If you've reached this point and you haven't already, I would really appreciate a like, a comment, a subscription if you haven't done those things. It just helps me get seen by more people, boost me up in the algorithm, all of the stuff that the YouTubers do like to say. If you would like to support me in my goal to become a full-time YouTuber, I would absolutely appreciate that. You can become a member below. There are various perks to those, name at the end of the videos, all that good stuff, but it also unlocks some VIP areas in Discord if you become a Longbeard or Ground Knight tier supporter. Those VIP sections are the only parts that are locked away in Discord. You don't have to be a member to join the Discord. I'd recommend that you should. We've got about 450, 500 people on there. It's a great place for discussion, a lot of fun. I do try and chime in as much as possible. And it's also where the Fix My List show lists are put, and also if you are one of the Ground Knight or Longbeard tier supporters, where you participate in choosing which list I play in the monthly Pick My List series.